What is up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Camera Junkie live stream. My name's Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it is your first time here, I almost forgot where I was going with this. If it is your first time here, please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat so you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. And the tradition around here goes that the first thing I do is check to see exactly who's the first one in chat. And today we have Mr. Parker Jennings in the house saying hello to everyone. We also have Mr. Moderator Paul Duncan. Gretchen Shepherd here, images by Gretchen, saying happy Saturday to me and to Aiden. Yep, Aiden is hanging out there, playing, doing his thing. They're on the fridge, and that's where they're going to stay for the remainder of this evening. Hey, JP's in the house as well, saying howdy from Tennessee. All right, and today I was... to be honest with you, wasn't feeling 100%, wasn't feeling the best even right now, like just starting the live stream. But I got a brainwave. I got a brainwave to have a topic at hand. And because I was speaking with Miss AT earlier today, Alicia, she was having issues with her Rodecaster Pro and audio, so I decided that I'm just gonna go and basically give you a behind the scenes of how I have my audio set up, and I'm going to try to extract pieces of it to see if maybe I can get a video together, kind of demonstrating exactly how I have everything set up. So I'm going to be going to my overhead shot and a couple of other things. I'm going to bring my Rodecaster Pro here up front and center so that you guys could see that. If you have any questions whatsoever about my setup and how I have things set up, please feel free to drop that down in the in the chat below. Please put a Q colon in front of any question that you might have, so that way it'll be a lot easier for me to find it and make sure that I don't forget it. And with that being said, let's get to it. I'm a little off. There we go. That's better. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and move my keyboard out of the way, and I'm going to give you a behind the scenes look right over here. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit that like button. It's highly appreciated. That sounds like a great idea. And Sly sneaking in here saying, hey, Lewis and Aiden, you're in competition with Sonic the Hedgehog. I will not be I will not take offense if I take a L to Sonic. I've been a big fan of him, Tails, Knuckles, and the entire crew for many years. Hey, what's up, David? How are you? Saying what's up. All right, so we're gonna be doing audio. Why is that not focusing? Okay, you need something there. Usually have my keyboard, but I guess the all black, it was giving it issues with it focusing. Okay, behind the scenes look. This is what we're looking at. All right, let me squeeze this over here. Okay, off to my left on a separate screen all by itself, under the desk mounted, I have an Apple Mac Mini. Okay, so a Mac Mini with its own monitor, completely separate to the side. This is part of my setup, which I think might be a bit in excess, a little bit extra, but I am just documenting everything so you guys know exactly what's going on, because this is where my music that you're listening to right now is coming from. This is the source. Okay, so now that we have that here, moving along to my main setup, I have a Mac Studio here. This is my main computer. My main computer is giving signal to this main monitor here, my secondary monitor just right here, and then also, can't speak too much, to my teleprompter here. So this acts like my third monitor. Hopefully I'm still coming through. So one monitor Mac Mini, 1, 2, 3 monitors Mac Studio connected here, and all of this audio and all of the audio is routed through this main piece right here, which is the Rodecaster Pro. Now, what you can't see on the screen right now is that just underneath me here, directly underneath, I also have a Windows PC that I also have the audio connected to this whenever I decide to use that computer as well. But it is routed here, and I'm just giving you the entire like infrastructure of what I have connected. That's why hence all the connections in the back of the Rodecaster being utilized. All right, overhead shot. We're going to try to bring this over here. Do I even have slack? Ooh, maybe I don't. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Let's see how I can finagle this. Okay, is it my BTS shot gonna be? Let's see here. All right. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad here. See if we can work this. Okay. New overhead shot. Let's move some of this junk out of the way. This is my back scratcher and all the junk that you guys don't see. All right. Let's move some of the stuff out of the way. That looks better. There we go. Squeeze that over there. Okay. Rodecaster Pro, front and center. Okay. So let's see. All right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay. So can I get it a bit closer? I'm just going to work with it as is. Hopefully this works. And like I said, hopefully we'll be able to make something from... Stop moving. All right, stop shaking. There we go. All right, Rodecaster Pro. First thing that you're going to see is that you're seeing these levels spiking off to the left. That's because channel number 1 is where I have the microphone that you're listening to me come through, right? So anything that's coming through this microphone, you'll see that spiking right there. In case if I were to mute myself, as soon as I mute myself, I could be talking, but we no longer see levels there at all. So that is where the microphone is coming in. There are 4 completely different XLR connections in the back. So you have the ability to connect up to 4 microphones if you see fit. But they're also multi-purpose. So you can connect a direct line, something like this. Oh, not that. Let's pull it out correctly. Come on. Right? For like connecting a guitar or an amp also into those connections. And then at the same time, you have the choice within the buttons of the Rodecaster Pro to select what it is that you want it to do. So if I were to select the first one, which is my first channel and where I have my microphone connected, as you can see, I have the option to connect microphones and switch to different types of microphones. If I have something else connected like a guitar, right, or have audio coming in from a separate computer, I also have the ability to control that into one of these sliders, which is what you're seeing here. Right there, there is a little number 2, which is connected to the slider. This connects or controls the amount of music that you're hearing in the live stream. At that same time, right, that is audio that's coming in from my secondary computer. That's why it's coming in on line number 2 or USB number 2. To Okay, let me just continue to explain the connection. So, depending on what you have connected to your XLR, right? Just I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. You have the ability to change what it is, or to tell the Rodecaster Pro what it is that you're receiving. So if it is a microphone, you can select the type of microphone. If it's a musical instrument, you could also designate it to that. And also, if you want to have the slider control audio, or the fader, better said, to control the audio coming from a variety of sources, which is what you have the inputs into that are not XLR, like USB, you also have that ability. So as we continue, I have one that's empty here. So I have two microphones connected at the same time, one being my SM7B, the other one being my backup microphone, just in case anything were to happen. I have something which I could easily just quickly turn up and have it. And as you can see, I hope you can see it. I might have to record that separately, but there's little indicators underneath to show you exactly what it is. So if I were to hit the second one, I have my Rode Wireless Go microphone, and it has like this little Wi-Fi symbol in the top, because that's a wireless microphone that I have connected to it, this being a standard microphone. And if you see underneath, you have USB and even XLR4. Now the XLR4, the fourth one here, I have it as a line in, almost as if it were to be a musical instrument. But what I actually have is an XLR connector, if I can just pull it out, right? And this XLR connector actually goes to a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So it's basically a conversion of a standard headphone jack to an XLR connection. This is actually the connection that's coming directly from my PC computer, my Windows PC. So I have all the audio that's coming in from that PC generated through the headphone jack coming into my fourth channel, and I have control over it right here, right? So I have my two microphones and my physical Windows computer coming in through XLR connections. Now, to actually communicate everything between this computer here, the studio, and my other Mac Mini, which I have off to the left, I have those both connected to individual USB ports, which are in the back. And I really can't pull this up any higher. So the first USB port connection goes connected directly to my Mac Studio. Now the Mac Studio will actually see two connections inside of its like system. It will see the Rodecaster Pro 2 main connection, and then a secondary connection, because one USB cable to the main USB-C connection in the Rodecaster Pro will actually give you two forms of connecting to the same device. But I wanted to have another form of communication with the computer, so I connected the secondary USB to my second Apple computer, which is my Mac Mini. So USB 1 goes to the Mac Studio, USB-C 2 goes to the Mac Mini, and I have audio being fed into the Rodecaster Pro via XLR connections, two microphones, and one being my Windows PC. Now, if I just wanted to extract audio, and audio was the only thing that I wanted to get out of the Mac Mini, then I would have the ability to connect it via XLR the same way I did the PC computer, and just have the audio being fed into one of the XLRs, like my second one, which I'm not currently using. And then I would be able to control that on a slider just the same way, and have access to bring in that audio to the Rodecaster Pro 2. Once I have the audio here, I have the ability to send that audio out to either computer, right? Now, the Windows PC, because it's not connected via USB-C, I don't have the ability to transmit audio out. I could only get audio in. But once I have it here, it allows me to, first of all, pump it out through my monitor speakers right here, right? Because I have that connected to the Rodecaster Pro. And that's how I listen to the majority of the sound, unless I have it connected via headphone jack, which we don't really need to get into at the moment, right? We're just trying to figure out how we route the audio. So we have all of these audio sources coming in and out of the Rodecaster Pro, and it is just so that I have complete control over what I'm going to broadcast. Now, if I were to have just connected everything as is into this setup, it will be a hot mess, because you have signals going in and out to the PCs, and then microphones coming in but not sending signals out, and things are going to get overlapped, and it can cause a whole heck of a lot of mess or a lot of noise. For example, I use another feature, which is like, even though right now I'm not talking, and I was doing that on purpose. Even though I'm not talking, you can see right here on this indicator that the microphone is still picking up a lot of sound. You see it bouncing? That's all the room noise that the microphone is picking up. But I use another program called Crisp Audio to clean up that music, right? Or to clean up the audio. If I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna shut off, actually, you know what, here's a good example. I'm going to mute the music. So right now we have no music. You can just hear me, and you can hear how clean the audio is sounding. But at the same time, I'm gonna go to my crisp setting, and I'm gonna turn off the noise cancellation. And now you're hearing all of that extra room noise that Crisp has been removing. Now, let me turn that back on. And that's why within my setup in Ecamm, I have Crisp microphone set up as my microphone of choice. But this is just to explain that I actually have all of the audio, all of the microphones routed through Crisp Audio. Okay, let me kind of come back here to explain this to you. Now, Crisp Audio is cleaning my audio, but Crisp Audio is so good that if I were to just select the Rodecaster Pro and every sound that it's producing, actually, I didn't put the music back on, sorry. So if I were to pick up, right, and I would just to connect my Rodecaster Pro and direct it to Crisp, Crisp will actively remove the music because it considers it noise. Crisp is so good that it removes all pop, sounds, crackles, and including music. So if I wanted to play music on the setup, right, it would actively remove it, which is why we really need to go into the Rodecaster Pro and tell it what it can and cannot do by dealing with the routing. And the routing is where the magic of the Rodecaster Pro really takes hold. So let's get to it. Let's go back to this shot. Going back to it, how do we get into the settings? No, that's not it. We're going to hit this little cog wheel on the settings on the upper right hand corner, and that's going to bring us into our Rodecaster Pro menu. Now you have selections of faders, outputs, smart pads, display, your show, and your system. But what we're really thinking about right now is going to be between the faders and the outputs. Excuse me. Okay, so now, because I mentioned before how Crisp takes out all of the music and all of the background noise, and it is so powerful, I need to separate the music from the microphones, or Crisp, better said, so that we can bypass the music to allow it to go through and play without it being affected by Crisp and its sound deadening. So as we go, no, I didn't say what it was. Outputs. we're going to click into outputs, which is what this Rodecaster Pro is outputting. Now we have more options: headphones, monitors, routing, listen, multi-track, and processing. Now, processing is where you're going to go into, you know, like each individual setup, and you can set up, you know, like noise gates, compressors, and a variety of different things. You can deal with all that, but that's not what's controlling, and that's not what we're having to deal with. Multi-track, I have it set to off because we don't need multi-track in this setup, because we're going to be doing all of the controlling manually through routing. Listen, okay, that's just your choice if you want to listen to pre-fader or post-fader. And routing is where the magic happens. So now we have routing for the headphones, speakers, and what's going out into everything being recorded: Bluetooth, USB 1 chat, which is the secondary line from the main USB-C, and then USB-C 2, which is the secondary line which goes to my my Mac Mini. Okay, so now we have audio coming in from the Mac Mini. We have audio coming in from the not the Rodecaster Pro, from the Mac Studio. And then we have audio coming in from the microphones. And then they all have to go back out to the Mac Studio so that the Mac Studio could then recognize it with Ecamm or Zoom or anything like that. So now, to rewind and go back here, I actually utilize Ecamm for all of my setups. And the main reason why I use Ecamm is because it gives me the ability to bring in my favorite cameras and have it look amazing. But it also has an added feature which is called virtual camera, right? Which gives me the ability to take all of the power of Ecamm and what you're seeing here and bring it into a Zoom meeting. So when the Zoom application asks me, what camera would you like to use? Instead of selecting my webcam, I select Ecamm's virtual camera. And then that gives me all of the power of Ecamm and brings it right into Zoom, brings it right into Discord, brings it right into wherever I desire. Now, that feature was so well received that Ecamm decided to implement that in the audio field as well, and they have a Ecamm virtual microphone which works the same way. So I'm gonna bring this over here, and then I'm gonna go into live demo mode so that you can see my audio and sound levels window right here. We have the Rodecaster Pro 2 chat that's sitting underneath, and the crisp microphone. Now this is what we have within Ecamm. Okay, hold on. I don't want to lose my train of thought because there's so much going on. Oh, okay, yeah. But this also gives me the ability that if I were to utilize any sound effects from Ecamm itself, so let's say I were to bring in, where is it here? The stock sound effects, right? And we were to hear that, right? Applause, bicycle horn. You see that the sound effects window or microphone aspect there. Oh, it's going through all of them. Let's not do that. Okay, let's shut it off. Okay. But if I were to click something like the DJ air horns, right? Ooh, I brought that way down. Now that we can hear it, that is being produced by Ecamm. So for example, because it's on a separate like layer or in a separate column within the sound levels window of Ecamm, what this effectively does is that it compartmentalizes the microphones, right? And because the microphone is coming in through crisp, let's say I were to select something, or if I were to go into a Zoom meeting and it asked me what microphone I want to use, if I were to select crisp microphone, you wouldn't hear any of the music. You wouldn't hear any of the sound effects. You wouldn't hear anything else, because the only thing that you would hear is like if I would have effectively not been utilizing Ecamm at all, and you would only hear my microphone like so. Hopefully I'm explaining this correctly. So the same way that I would use the virtual camera inside of Zoom, inside of Discord, or inside of anything, I also utilize the virtual microphone alongside with it, so that all of the craziness that I have going on with all these different audio sources are all being pumped in directly into these two main channels for Ecamm, which the main two is a Rodecaster Pro 2 chat, and then the Rodecaster Pro by itself, right? The multi-track, but I have the main multi-track actually going to Crisp, and then I have Crisp selected as my microphone, so that I actually have Crisp working on my microphone at all times. So what this does for me is that it allows me to select both the virtual camera and the virtual microphone within Ecamm and every other application, because all of the hard work, both audio and video, is being done through Ecamm, and all I have is the virtual camera and the virtual microphone representing everything that I'm doing in Zoom, in Discord, or in any other, like team meetings or whatever it is that you're using your setup, right? Your 21st century setup, right? Your audio visual setup, you're going to be using it in that manner. So hopefully I was able to convey that correctly, and I'm going to just try to bring all that mess into a nutshell, which is Ecamm's virtual microphone and virtual camera is what I use to show up in every other application. And the rest of everything that I'm going to explain here runs directly to basically the endpoint being my being Ecamm itself. So I'm going to go and run. Hopefully I gave an overview of this craziness, because I'm starting to realize how freaking crazy it is when I try to explain it, but we're rolling with it. So we're going to go back. Let's get out of live demo and let's go back to the overhead. Okay. Now that we're at the overhead, I'm going to try to best explain the routing. So now we are in the routing, and I'm going to go back to it, right? So we would go into the menus. We would go into outputs, we would go into routing, which would give us this window here. So now I decided that I want Crisp microphone, or the Crisp plugin, controlling all of my microphones. So what I did is that I went, I have to go back to live demo. And I'm going to show you the Crisp application up here. So now, as you can see, the Rodecaster Pro 2 main multitrack, the main signal is what's actually selected onto Crisp. So Crisp, the program itself, is cleaning up all excess sounds that's not, like music, or just my voice is being allowed through. And that is grabbing all the information that is coming into the computer from the Rodecaster Pro 2 main multitrack. So now, if I were to leave everything like stock on the Rodecaster Pro, it would have every sound effect that it has connected to itself being pumped out to the main signal to this computer, meaning the music that's coming in will then cross through Crisp and be null and void. Like any other sound effect, like air horn, you would not hear it at all. Actually, you didn't even hear it now because I muted it. I have the music muted. You wouldn't hear it because Crisp would have effectively killed it, right? So now that's exactly where we're at, where Crisp is connecting and cleaning up all the sounds that are coming in through that channel, which is the Rodecaster Pro 2 main multitrack. So now go back to the overhead shot. Let's get out of live demo. So we're just looking at that. Okay. So now we're going to come here. Oh, wrong one. And the USB 1 is the main multi-track connection. Now, whenever we see the USB 1 chat, that is this little bubble over here. As you can see, there's got a smaller bubble on top of it. So if we were to click here, we have our main mix or mix minus setups. And what I decided to do was, I said that because this is the main multi-track, I physically shut off, as you can see, all the red dots on all of the channels that I do not want Krisp to clean up. Right? Krisp is a program to clean up the sound of my microphone, but what I wanted to do specifically is only clean up my microphone. So what I did was that I removed from the main multi-track what Krisp is cleaning up, and I removed every other component from the setup and removed it. So if we were using the main mix, it would mix everything in. If I were to use mix minus, it would do the same thing, but you would have to select custom. And as you can see here in the links, you can simply connect it, disconnect it, or turn it off completely. And that's exactly how I have selected. So to explain, I only have my active microphones, only the devices that I'm using as microphones, to be connected through this main mix portal, so that I can direct only the microphones themselves to Krisp. And once that's done, I'm going to do the opposite under the USB-C 1 chat. I'm going to select the custom, but what I have actively done is that I have removed all of the microphones and I only allow the other things that I want to come through. So you see this little sound, that's the active music that we're listening to right now, because that is my USB 2, which is connected to my Mac Mini. So because the Mac Mini is no longer routed through the main channel and is now routed through the secondary USB-C channel, it is no longer being affected by Krisp. The audio on the number 4 here that's coming in through my PC, even though nothing's coming in right now, will not be affected by Krisp. So if I have music, videos, or anything playing on my Windows PC, that is not going to be cleaned up by Krisp. My number 1 chat audio, right? My chat audio that's coming in, that's anything else that I want to be coming in from the PC itself, going in through that channel, Bluetooth, and my sound effects. You can see the audio levels and everything is connected on that secondary channel. And now that those are routed and separated, right, they do not cross over each other. So hopefully, let me go back here. So I've explained that we've taken the microphones and we've dedicated them to only connect to the computer via the main USB-C channel. Then I've taken all of the other sound effects, sound pads, other connections, audio coming in from multiple computers, everything else, and I've set those to come in routed through the secondary channel. And what that allows me to do is that when I come back here, I have both of those. No, that wasn't what I was trying to do. If I were to have this normally, this is what it would normally sound and look like. Right now, Krisp is not cleaning up my microphone's audio because the audio with all the background noise is coming in directly into the Rodecaster Pro. And that Rodecaster Pro is now selected as the main microphone within Ecamm. So now you're hearing all like Aiden, the AC, the whole thing. And I have the secondary channel, the chat channel, right? That's where all the other sound is coming in through, right? So effectively, what I could do, right, is I can go to Crisp and have Crisp go to, where is it? My Rodecaster Pro 2 chat, right? Oh, that wasn't what I was trying to do. So now I have Crisp cleaning up my secondary channel, not my main channel, not the one with the microphones. And as soon as I were to select Crisp, you can see that right now it is taking all of the audio from the music channels, from the sound effects. So if I were to go over here and I were to hit, you can see the channels jumping. You can see me hitting these sound effects. You can see me bringing in the music, making it extremely loud. And Crisp is cleaning everything. You might get a word or two coming out of Crisp if there's lyrics in the words, I mean, in the song. And that's basically how Crisp works. But let's go back to the chat. So now we're getting all the music, all the sound effects, and I'm going to go back to Crisp, change it to my main, which is where my microphones are at, and then select Crisp as my phone. And now we can see that there's no more extra sound, background noise coming in through my main microphones, even to the point that if I were to mute the music, it would be dead silent. You're not hearing anything now. And that's how I have both, like, not both, but all of my audio, both of my Apple computers, and Crisp cleaning up all of the audio and everything because of this setup. Now, I took my time with it. Hopefully I was able to convey that information. Once again, if you have any questions, if I confused you at all with what I was doing, please leave a Q question and I will get to it right now. I'm also going to try to do my best to see if I can repurpose this as additional content to try to explain that. I might have to redo it again, looking over the information, because I was able to convey everything, but at the same time, wow, I'm really surprised on how much is actually happening right here, and I almost forgot how detailed it was. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully Alicia gets to see this and I can help her out with it, and if not, maybe she has some questions for me just the same. So that's it. That is pretty much how I have my audio set up with the Rodecaster Pro. And yeah, hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. All right, let's move this out of the way here. There we go. All right. Okay, so let's see where we're at. So Kevin's. I don't get this comment. They still make those P-Thing devices? What? Hey, thank you, Kevin. He says, everyone remember to hit the like button. If you haven't done so, please do so. Kevin says, wow, I always forget how much Crisp does clean up the audio. It does, especially for me. Like, you know, I was thinking about it not too long ago. Like, I remember the live streams where I had to shut everything off, and within like no time I'd be here sweating. Like I have that bit of sweat that just drips down the center of your back, right to the top of the crack of your butt. Like, I used to sweat hard up in here to do these live streams. Is there a reason why you use multi-track instead of main stereo? I believe they're the same one. I don't know if they're called differently. Oh, I'm still in live demo. I believe I use that because it's just the option. Now, to be all sincere, if I was able to convey this information correctly, there really isn't any difference besides that they're just two separate channels. So whether you want to put all of the microphones on the primary USB or the secondary USB, it really doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's just they have to be separate from all of the other sound effects if you decide to use them with Crisp, better said. If you decide to use them with Crisp and within Ecamm. But the last thing that I almost forgot to kind of tie all of this in a bow is the fact that all of this is now controlled through Ecamm, right? So I have audio coming in from my Mac Mini, right, through the Rodecaster Pro, but it comes into the secondary chat channel here in Ecamm. I have my main microphones and everything coming in through the main. And it's all coming in through Ecamm. So if I want to have sound effects, right? And I want to have music playing in my undertones, and I want to bring all of that, including the power of Crisp, into a Zoom meeting, I don't go into Zoom meeting and have only selection of Crisp microphone or have the selection of the secondary chat, because then they won't hear my microphone, but then they'll hear sound effects, or they would hear my sound effects but not hear my microphone, right? And because all of it is controlled through Ecamm, and Ecamm sees and hears it all, that's why I use the virtual camera and virtual microphone in every other instance. So when I go into Zoom, I use virtual camera and virtual mic because I know that I'm going to be using Ecamm and the power of its camera for that. Might as well use it to implement everything, including my sound effects. Oh, that was not the one that I thought. I thought it was a bomb. It's supposed to be... but I don't have one. There we go. So that's the way that I would set it up or have it set up. And that's why I also utilize the Ecamm virtual microphone, because it brings all of this into one location. And now whether I'm in Zoom, Discord, or any other location, you will not only be able to see everything that I want to display, but you will also be able to hear every sound effect, every piece of music, and have crisp, clean microphone audio. And just to answer that question, Paul, is there a reason why I use multi-track stereo? Is just because it was the first one. So, you know, like when it came to routing, my Rodecaster Pro already had my main microphones into the multi-track, so it was just easier to remove everything that I wasn't going to use and then flip it onto the secondary channel. But they work just the same. When the Rodecaster Pro first came out a couple of years ago, which is so crazy that it's already been a couple of years with this device, but when it came out, there was a big difference between the first and the secondary channels. And the reason why was because what I had demonstrated before, the mix minus, was something that wasn't even available on the secondary channel. It was only available on the main channel. So you didn't have the full functionality of the main channel on the secondary channel. They have since changed that with some updates to the Rodecaster Pro, and because of it, like now they have basically the same functionality. And when you go into the settings and you go into the routing, right, basically there's no difference in their functionalities. It's just what you decide to choose. So the way that I've selected only the microphones in my main chat, I could have done the same exact thing on the secondary and then have all the sound effects and everything else that's, you know, connected to the Rodecaster Pro on the main one. And then when I go to Crisp, I would just use the secondary channel, which is where the microphones are actually connected to the computer through, as the channel to clean up, and then use Crisp as my microphone of choice, besides the virtual microphone being directed through Ecamm. So You could use them just the same, but no actual real difference besides that was the way it was set up when I first got the Rodecaster Pro. Is there a setting in the RCP2 to show as main stereo or multi-track? You know, I don't think so. And I might be speaking out of my ass right now, but I believe they're the same exact thing. Right? I believe that they're the same exact thing, except that it was called one before the other. And I think that they just switched it. So let me make sure. Is there a setting in the RCP2 to show as main stereo or multi-track? Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but you're saying how it shows up on your computer, right? Like whenever you go to select it, if it's going to show up as main stereo or main multi-track. I believe it's exactly the same. Now mine shows up as main multi-track. So once again, let me go into live demo mode to show you exactly what I see. So I have one USB-C cable connected from the Rodecaster Pro to my Mac Studio, which is what I'm using to broadcast all of this. So once I select my audio sources here, I have the Rodecaster Pro 2 main and the Rodecaster Pro 2 chat. These two selections here are available through the same one USB-C cable. Now, as you can see, mine doesn't say stereo. Mine says main multi-track. But like I said, I could be wrong. But if I remember correctly, when this first came out, it wasn't called the main multi-track. I think it was called main stereo. And I think that's the only difference that there is right now. Yep. And let me just double check here. What I'm doing is checking the multi-track and yep, I'm gonna stick with that. I might be wrong, but I stand to be corrected. Now, I believe it is exactly the same, and the only thing that has changed is the difference of the naming convention, so to speak. But here's something just in case this is what you might have been asking. All the microphones are mono microphones. So even though your television, your iPhone, iPad, whatever it is that you're tuning in and watching this on, that usually has two speakers and you're going to get stereo sound. But unless you're transmitting in stereo, you're not going to get a difference between right and left. So what you would be doing, excuse me, what you would be doing is going back to the XLR side, and you would have to connect two separate microphones to two separate XLR connections to receive both signals at the same time, and then differentiate which one's right and which one's left to get stereo sounds. And that's where you would see mostly like on the presidential speeches, they use the SM57s, and they usually have two of them side by side. First, you're gonna have two, one for redundancy, because if one goes, you still get audio from the second one. And second, it actually is a stereo pair, a stereo sound. So they're getting sound from both sides so that it would sound a left and a right. And it might not be like the most, but even two microphones with a couple of inches apart will be able to kind of differentiately tell, if the sound is coming more from the left or from the right. And then when you put them together, it gives you that stereo effect. So you would need to connect two microphones for a stereo effect in any mixer whatsoever, because all microphones are inherently mono. So that could be something that might be confusing to some. Hopefully that gives a little insight, that difference between actual stereo and mono sound. Even though this is a complex machine and it is producing stereo sound, it is still receiving it from a mono microphone. So it's taking this and doubling it up for both speakers. And that's how it works. Gretchen's got a question here. And if we're getting close to the end of the hour, so if you do have any other questions, please put them in now so I can get to them before we close things out. Her question says, so the whole implementation of Crisp depends on someone having something like a Rodecaster. If so, you don't have a Rodecaster equivalent, does this not apply? Absolutely not. You can apply Crisp to whatever you want, just as long as you have it kind of like have its own channel. So for example, this is a great question, and I'm going to give you a great demonstration of how we can switch this up. My little bag, this is the one with the A. A is for audio. All right, let me see if I can find this. Oh no. I thought it was here. Oh, it is. It is just here. Boom. The only thing that you need, not leave that because Aiden will get to it and then it's over. All right. The only thing that you would need to use Crisp is a microphone, and hopefully not the one that you'd be using like on a laptop, but if not, basically an audio interface. So now, even though I am very complicated with everything that I have here with the Rodecaster Pro and everything like that, you might yourself have a much more simple setup, right? Hence, oh, I forgot that I don't have autofocus anymore. Here we go. Is that it? No, this is it. Boom. Let's take a look at this. This is an interface called the Rode AI Micro. So this, believe it or not, this small little device right here is equivalent in this setup to this entire Rodecaster Pro here. Because this is just the interface of how I'm connecting either my microphone, my sound, my music, or anything into the computer. So the same way, let me turn off this, hold on. You are hunting big time because I have you in product showcase mode. Okay, there we go. Much better. So now, if I were to connect this Rode AI Micro, and I'm going to do it. Where's my... Let's disconnect this. Okay, so I just disconnected my 4 terabyte hard drive. Oop. Which leaves this USB port connected. It's a bit dark, this shot. Let's brighten this up a bit. There we go. Okay. So now, USB-C to USB-C. And now I've connected this interface to my computer. So now I'm going to go back to live demo because we're going to get this in. Oh, wrong one. This is the window. Where are we? Here we go. There we go. All right. This window. Now, as instead of my Crisp microphone as my main selection, I also have the ability to select the Rode. Now, because the Rode AI Micro now is available here, within my interface, it is also available for Crisp. So let's pretend that we didn't even have a Rodecaster Pro, right? And the only way that I have connection for microphones is this Rode AI Micro. So I'm going to, do I have one around here? Yeah, should. So now I'm going to pull out a lavalier microphone and I'm going to connect it into the microphone slot, which will allow me to select the Rode AI Micro. And now you can hear me through the Rode AI Micro, but just like me connecting it to the main Rodecaster Pro, it will sound with all of the background noise and everything associated with it. So right now you're listening to me through this lavalier microphone on the Rode AI Micro. But if this now becomes my main microphone, I want Crisp to clean it up. So what I'm going to do, I'm coming in very low, I just realized. So what I'm going to do, I just shut off the music for a second. What I'm going to do is that now I'm going to select Crisp as the mic, not Crisp. I'm going to select Crisp and I'm going to tell it to select the Rode AI Micro. Now you're listening to the Rode AI Micro directly, and then I'm going to be able to switch over to, and now you're listening to the Crisp microphone cleaning up the Rode AI Micro. And now we're using this as my interface, and we're no longer using the SM7B. And that's how it works. So it really doesn't matter what device you're using, whether it's the Rodecaster Pro, whether it's this and that, but this is the difference, because that's what I was trying to explain. I'm going to go back to the overhead shot. The Rode AI Micro here has two inputs for microphone. So I'm going to switch it. Did I lose it? It wasn't coming in through the secondary, but it does have a secondary microphone input, right? I I'm not sure why it's not working at the moment, but that's not the point. Let's say that it was working. I could actively take a second person in a conversation, lav them up, and put that in as a secondary microphone, and it will come in through and be cleaned by Crisp. But for example, right now we're not listening to any music, but if I were to have the music playing, I would have the ability to pump it in through this secondary channel. The problem with that is that the music will be cleaned up instantaneously by Crisp. So at this point, if you have another interface whatsoever, completely different, like a Rodecaster Pro, anything whatsoever, right? And then you were to select that as your secondary channel and not have it muted, then right there you would have the ability to be playing music alongside with the microphone of your choice. Oh man, that's really low. Right, but that's how easy it is to change the interface. And now instead of changing the Crisp microphone on Ecamm, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Crisp and tell it, hey, leave the Rode AI Micro alone and go back to the main multi-chat, which then allows me to bring back my main microphone and have Crisp work all of its magical powers onto the SM7B. So what Crisp is going to do is that it's going to clean up the microphone sound to whichever microphone you tell it or designate it to clean up. But it works so well. You have to wait, buddy. You have to wait. This is Aiden's iPad. It's completely dead and he's handing it to me. Now we got to put that to charge. And Gonna set up his old iPad. Just to give you a quick view of how bad he busted it. That's the old one, but it still works. There you go. So, oh, I'm still in live demo. Let me see if you guys had any other questions here. Okay, Sly says, Gretchen, I use Crisp my USB mic and it works amazingly. Okay, so it looks like Gretchen has been having an issue. But this, I'm going to say this to both Sly and Gretchen, that you guys both have my number. That if you guys have any issues whatsoever, you know, send me a text. I'm always happy to help. Do I have a link for the Rode AI Micro? I do for you, Gretchen. Absolutely. Let me get that for you. Let's put a little music. Will I go to the Jungle website? Oh, they dropped the price too. Nice. It's now $79. Oh, because they're just doing the setup itself. Yeah, okay. Is that the one that I got? I don't even remember. It used to be like about $100. So I'm gonna put a link here for this one's $80. There we go. There you go, Gretchen. All right. Says not really hearing me. Yeah, apparently that the microphone went really low. But I would say that's not fault of this. That's probably these cheap $20 lavalier microphones. I bought those for $20 and I could honestly say not worth it. Not worth it. Hey, what's up, John? Sneaking in. I was thinking about you just the other day. Haven't seen you in a while, so it's nice to have you here. Paul says, I love Crisp. I do too, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, ever since I found Crisp, I almost like I'm hassle free when it comes to me thinking about audio and things like that. I don't even stress it whatsoever at all. But that's it, you guys. Like I said, I wasn't feeling 100%. I did not have time for a Cities Gaw, so we'll hold that up for next week. If it's your first time here, just know that Cities Gaw is channels that I think you should go and watch. I usually have a channel which I recommend, but I did not have time to put it together this week. So be sure to tune in next week, because if you haven't figured it out, we do this week in and week out. This has actually been episode 175, right? Let me double check, because even I lose track. Yep, 175, meaning that is 175 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream without skipping a beat. So if you're thinking, when's the next time this is happening, just know that it will be happening next Saturday, same location here on the YouTube Mr. Camera Junkie YouTube channel, right? 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday without skipping a beat. And as always, I gotta thank every single one of you here hanging out, making this my favorite place to be. So take care of yourselves and each other. And I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces as we do it all over again next week. Same time, same place. Talk to you.